OP's husband wants to take a paternity test. It is not what you think from the title. We've been married for 2 years, together for 4, and we have a son. Prior to our relationship, my husband had several relationships. One of these was with Paula. Paula has 3 boys, 20, 15, and 5. Each of them has a different father. Paula and my husband remained friendly following their breakup, and while he never wanted me to be uncomfortable, they were a lot closer than typical exes. About a year ago, Paula's boyfriend had a massive heart attack and passed away. About a month ago, after a sudden cancer diagnosis, Paula passed away. My husband was devastated and has been crying pretty much every day. I've tried to be there for him, but I don't know what more I can do for him. This has affected him in a way that I never thought it would. My husband admitted to me that when Paula became pregnant, they weren't sure who the youngest son's father was. They had both been with her. She was living with her boyfriend, so neither of them said anything to him. Paula's oldest son is estranged from his father and is talking about dropping out of college to raise his brothers. The middle son is already with his father, with whom he has a good relationship. My husband told me he wants to take a DNA test to see if Paula's youngest son is his and give him a home if he is. Admittedly, the youngest son has very prominent recessive features that are prominent in both Paula's and my husband's families. He has not asked for my feelings on this, and I really don't know how to feel. We have our son, we have our family, and now he wants to upend everything without even asking me. In a year, we plan to try for another baby. Financially, we could do it, but this is not my child. This is something I didn't even know about until last month. At the same time, I don't want Paula's son to give up his life to raise his brother. Nor do I want to be the kind of person who tells her husband what he can't do. I didn't want to date someone who had kids for this exact reason, and while I know it wasn't explicit, I still feel lied to in this respect. I'm trying to support him while still processing my own feelings. I don't even know how I feel, and I don't know what to do. To cut this off before people start writing fiction, no, he was not cheating on me. When he told me, I asked him when this ended, and it was before we met. Even though I didn't ask for it, he showed me text messages, his Google timeline, and several emails that backed this up. Furthermore, we haven't spent a night apart since we've been married. Paula's boyfriend hated him, for obvious reasons, so he never went over there. TLDR. The husband may have had a secret baby with his ex. Now that she's gone, he wants to push for a DNA test and adopt the child into our family. Update. It took me a bit to remember the password to this account, but I wanted to provide everyone with an update. My husband Andrew contacted Sean, the oldest son, and told him that he wanted to do a DNA test with Jack, the youngest. Sean apparently had suspicions because he knew my husband and Paula were seeing each other. The test came back, and Andrew is Jack's father. He told me that he understood if I wanted to go, but he had to be there for his son. Honestly, I'd been hoping that he wasn't the father so we wouldn't have to deal with it, but I just couldn't be angry with him. He was doing what he was supposed to be doing, so I told him that we would take Jack in. It has been an adjustment, to be honest. Jack didn't really understand why he was coming to stay with us and kept saying he wanted to go home. We've gotten him a therapist as well, who has given us a lot of great advice on how to explain things. We've made sure to have Paula's parents over quite a bit to reassure him, and they're very grateful to be able to have that relationship with him. Sean took a leave of absence from school last spring. He was coming over pretty much every night to spend time with Jack, which was great for both of them. And the happiest time I saw Jack was when Sean came around. I could tell Sean felt awkward around me, so I tried to give them their space and their time. But he was always very conscious of the time he spent and didn't want to upset me. He's truly a sweet kid and just one of the nicest young men I've ever met. In August, one night, I noticed Sean hadn't come down, and it was about 2 hours past his normal departure. I peeked inside the room and found him asleep, snuggled up to Jack. So I just shut the door and let them sleep. The next morning, Sean came down the stairs very apologetic, and I assured him it was okay and offered him some breakfast. I learned that Paula told the boys that I hated the family, which is why Andrew wasn't able to hang out with them anymore. Truthfully, Paula really wasn't my favorite person in the world, but I certainly never hated her kids. Sean told me that he knew it was best for Jack to be with us, but he was afraid to lose his brother. That broke my heart. Sean's situation is complicated. He came out as gay at 16, and his father was not thrilled. So they really have no relationship at this point. His mom is gone, his middle brother is with his father, and he barely sees him, so Jack is the only family he has left besides his grandparents. I did something I never thought I would do in a million years, and asked if Sean wanted to move in to be closer to his brother. He started sobbing and hugged me, saying he'd love that. He's pretty much moved in at this point and is back in school. My husband was shocked when he learned I had offered to have him move in, but agreed that it was the right decision. Jack is doing much better acclimating with Sean here. He's amazingly helpful, always offering to assist me with things like picking up groceries and preparing meals. He's very sweet. He's listed Paula's house for sale and will split the proceeds of the sale 3 ways. And for the news that made me decide to post, last month we found out that we're pregnant again. So in the span of a year, we've gone from a household of 1 child to a household of 3 children, with 1 on the way. There's a lot of emotion associated with this that I'm dealing with. I still do a lot of crying and questioning, but I think our marriage is stronger than ever. We're communicating better, and I can say that I genuinely love my life. TLDR, my husband was the father. We are now taking care of his son, and we took in his older brother as well. We have a baby on the way. Life is good. Second story. A boy gets labeled homophobic for not inviting his bully to his graduation. Bit of a loaded title, I'll admit. But to give some context, I 22M have an older sister, Sky 26F. When I was in high school, our mother 48F cheated on our dad 48M and left us to be with her boyfriend. When our dad moved on, he wound up dating Frida 41F, the mother of Phil 22M, my bully, who never did anything but make fun of me. And if you know, words can really hurt. I begged him not to be with her. I really begged him not to, but he didn't listen. The worst part was having to go with him to their house. My sister is the only one who realized how distraught I was. I had to go. And so I left to be with my mother. My dad took that personally and thought I was just trying to spite him for moving on. I only stayed with my mother until Sky got her own apartment, and I moved in with her as soon as I could. She never cut off contact with our dad, which is fair because she was a lot closer to him than I was, and she never pushed me to go to him or to our mother. Like high school, life only got worse after I left my dad, and the university has been such a godsend since everybody here is nice and stuff. My graduation is coming up in April, and I sent early invites to my dad and to my mother, who just finished applying, but not to the families they have now. Mother accepted, but Dad called, demanding invites for Frida and Phil. I said no, and he told me that it was to prove to him that I'm not homophobic. That caught me off guard, but I didn't back down. Yesterday, I talked to my sister about it, and she told me that because Phil's gay, they've been telling everyone that I don't come over and see him because I'm homophobic. She told me that she always sticks up for me and defends me, but she wishes I could reconcile with him since it hurts her, because people we know probably think the worst of me. I got pissed off and told her in a really rude way not to bother since I don't care if anybody thinks I'm homophobic. She got really sad and told me that she'd never stop defending me, and I just huffed, and we didn't really talk for the rest of the day. But I've slept on it really bad, and I never should have said that to her since she isn't pushing for me to reconcile, and she's the one who defends me, and I know my tone was really mean. I really feel like a major arsehole, and that I never should have hurt her by saying those things, hence why I'm on Reddit instead of studying for finals. Edit 1. Since people keep wondering this, yes, my dad knows I was bullied by Phil, but he doesn't think it was real bullying. And my sister has a good relationship with my dad, and his new family, new kids, and all. She loves him, and I'm not going to try to force her to choose between us. First post comments. The commenter asks if OP's father knew about Phil in high school. OP responds, yes, he knew. But my dad comes from a time when bullying was different, so he's never really understood. So I think a big part of him really did just think I wanted my parents together. Which I won't lie, I did. I really did. A commenter suggests OOP crash the next family function. OOP responds, and do it to No Dope on Sundays playing in the background, right? As funny as that sounds, I don't think it'd go too well for me. A commenter points out that OP's sister is an empath between him and his father. OP responds, my sister is very empathic, but she's also always been a daddy's girl, to put it lightly. But I'm not going to demand she change her relationship with him. The commenter advises OP to clear the air with his relatives. OP responds, I just don't see how any of that will help. If these people think so badly of me already and believe these things, then why should I care to change their minds? The commenter tells OP that his sister just wants to feel better about herself, doesn't care about the homophobia part, and wants to be more publicly anti-homophobic. OP responds, even if you're right, that doesn't mean that what she told me is a lie. There can be multiple truths to a thing, and if this reason is true, it may not weigh as much next to the reason that she told me. I'm by myself, so being homophobic would mean slapping myself with my left hand while combing my hair with my right. Update. So, since I got a few DMs about it, I figured I'd update. So I apologized to my sister as soon as she came home from work, and she forgave me. We had a talk, and as a lot of you said, I can't risk this SHT spreading in case it affects my future career prospects. I've always been kind of out of the closet, where if you ask, I'll tell you, but if not, then whatever. But we agreed that the best thing to do would be for me to officially come out, since I don't want to email or message all the individual relatives my dad's family has been saying this SHT about me to. If they believe them after that, then that's on them. Regardless, I came out as bisexual on Facebook and Instagram, changed my profiles to show I'm bi, and set up a coming out party where my friends and some of these relatives were invited, keeping in line with restrictions. It was a fun party, but it was weird since it felt like I was flaunting my sexuality, and I'm probably never going to do it again. But yeah, I think that one potential disaster has been averted. Overall, things have been good since then. My mom visited and told me how proud she was that I was being true to myself, and she apologized for what she did for us, not being that close. I don't know if we will be again, but we've been talking every day since then, and it feels good. My dad has not called or messaged me at all. Phil emailed me, congratulating me on coming out and pretty much apologizing for everything without actually apologizing. Frida, however, called me crying and apologized for everything while telling me she was proud of me for coming out. We had a talk about everything, and I think we've come to an understanding as far as my dad is concerned. My sister told me that Dad was really out of sorts after the announcement and was really regretful about what he did. She offered to set up a meeting, but he told her he didn't deserve one and needed to ask me himself. She also told me she has heard Frida bad mouthing him out for alienating me and Phil for how he acted quite a few times. At the end of the day, my dad hasn't reached out yet. Part of me hopes that he will, but maybe it's best if he doesn't. So thanks, guys. You did spur me to take action and nip that issue in the bud.